Hi, welcome back, Creative Minds. Today we're going by this inspiration for this beautiful gown, and these are the fabrics and shoes I'm working with. A cup chain which I was supposed to use to design it, but there was no light at the point of making this video. And this is a paper stay for the interface and also an organdy for the yoke and shoulder extension, the upper part of this main dress. And the main fabric we're working with is a Mikado fabric. I love to work with this fabric because it's a rich kind of vibe fabric. So now we are ruling this for our starting line. And from this point, this starting line, we are going to be taking our measurement. First of all, our shoulder measurement divided by 2, and then we're coming down by 1 inch for a shoulder slope, 3 inches for our shoulder wideness. And now we're going to be extending our armhole measurement, which is my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch. And now from the starting point to the bust point and under bust, waistline, and hip line, and then your desire length measurement. So now we're just going to extend this line just like this. And then for the for the neckline depth, I'm coming in what by 8 inches. You can as well do 6 or 7, but 8 is just fine if you ask me. And then I'm going to connect it back to the 3 inches wideness to give us a V neckline. So now I imputed my bust measurement divided by 4 for my armhole curve. Now we are taking our dart measurement, which is our nipple to nipple divided by 2. And then we're just going to extend this line upward even until this chest line, which is after our yoke. And now I'm just going to label this yoke. And on the waistline, I mean on the under bust line, we are just going to coming down by taking half each on both sides, both the waistline and the under bust, and you connect it just like this, and just slightly connect it back to the hip line. And also coming down from the bust point line by 1.5 inch, and then you'll use your curve ruler just to curve it like this. Now on the chest line, we're taking half inch on both side of this dart line, half inch just like this, and then we are using a curve ruler to slightly connect it back to the main line just like this. Yeah, and this is what we have for the dart. Now we're going to be replacing the dart which we took, which is 1 inches, back to the armhole so that our armhole won't be short at the end of the day. Now we're going to take our full measurement, your waistline divided by 4 plus the dart intake, your hip line divided by 4. Our dart wasn't up to there, so we don't really need to take extend the dart measurement. So now we're going to use a curve ruler to connect just like this. And now I'm going to extend this line just like we did the dart line, and then I'm going to extend it downwards to my main length. Please take note of your length because I actually use a short length, shorter than what I would have loved. So now from this waistline we came down by 3 inches and we connect it back to the that line. And on this main line I'm just drawing now, I also came out by 3 inches and connected to give me that flay effect. But if you don't want the flay effect, you want it straight, you can just leave it at your dart line and cut it out. So now we are cutting this out because we are done for the front part. And take note of what I'm cutting out so that you don't end up cutting what you need from this pattern. So now we're trimming out the dart on this main bodice. So we have our center front and our side front and also our yoke, which is 3 parts for this front part. So this is what we have. Now to the back part. We're also basically doing everything we did on the front except from the dart. So our shoulder measurement, shoulder slope, then your armhole, same thing as the front. Now we're going to take from the shoulder line to the waistline to the hip and then our full measurement. And then we're just going to make the line known. Now our armhole line. And from this we are taking our bust measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches for sewing allowance. And then we'll get our armhole from there. Now for our neckline, it's also the same thing as the back, 3 inches wide and 8 inches deep, and also the same shape, V-neck for the boat. Now our dart line divided by 2, which
The
is our
next thing I'm
nipple to
going to do
nipple
here is
measurement
just to
divided
roll
by
out
2.
my dart
Here
line. I'm
I'm
just going to
using
connect
four
it
and a half,
from the hip line
and then we're just going
downwards,
to connect it
upwards rather.
upward just like this.
And now just going
So
to
I'm just
label
going to
this
label
waistline
this
and the hip
waistline,
line.
hip line, and
So
then I'm
half inch on
taking
both sides
1/2 inch on
also.
both side on the
And then connect it
waistline, and
straight
I'm just
forward to
connecting it back to the
the
chest
chest
line
line
and
and
also
back to the hip line
downward to the
also.
hip line. So now I'm
And now
also
on the
extending this
M
my
line, which is
length by
supposed to be
three
our gown
inches, the
length,
wideness of my length.
um also
I'm
coming
also
out by
coming
three
down by three
inches and then
inches for our
connect it
curve on
towards
the
the hip line.
waist, in between waist and hip.
And then you
So
take
now
your
I'm
body
taking my body
measurements
measurements
and
and I'm replacing
replace
the
all
dart
the dots
intake
taken.
also. Same thing on the hip line. And I'm just going to
So
connect it
now we're
just like
coming down
this.
by 3 inches on the
And I
waistline, after the
connect
waistline,
the
and
shape,
then we'll connect it
which
with a
we also
curved
did for
ruler
the
just
front
like
part.
this.
So
And we
this
have
is
our
what we
curve
have for the
already.
Batman, for the back parts rather. And then
So
we're
now we're
just
going to
going to
cut
cut that
this
out.
out.
This is me cancelling out this so that you know that those points are not useful anymore. Those are the new lines we're working with. And then we'll just trim out our that to
Also,
leave
we're
out
going to
this
cut
perfect
out the
shape at the
waist,
back. And
the
also drafting this part,
darts
I forgot
taken.
to impute
So this is our
the back
yoke for
part.
the
I
back.
forgot to impute a zipper allowance. So when I was cutting it on the main fabric, I left 2 inches for zipper allowance on the center front. This is a big mistake I did. I forgot to add my sewing, my zipper allowance. So don't make that when you're cutting this. Probably if you make that mistake, you can just add it back when you're cutting your fabric. So I'm just trying to label this so that we don't get it mixed up. So now this is the front and the back. You can see I already did the mistake. This was the first one I cut out before realizing that I did not had a zipper allowance, so I had to cut another one. So now for the yoke, since the two yolks are the same thing, we're just going to pick one and work with. Now we're going to be doing a slash and spread method here, which I'm going to be slashing by 1 inch. So I just divided this down part by 1 inch and then connect it back to the shoulder measurement, to the shoulder line. And then we'll just number it so that we don't get it mixed up when we are through. And then the shapes are different. So now this is the organdy and it's folded by two, and then I'm just going to place it, which I spread it by 2 inches in between. So for each part I use two organdy. You'll see when we start sewing it. For each part, because for the total yoke we have four at the end of the day. So in total, I you can as well just fold your organdy by eight, fold it in 8 pieces and then place patterns on it and then spread it by 2 inches. Make sure there's a 2 inches gap between each papers, and then make sure you follow it as label 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on, so that you don't get it mixed up at the end of the day. And please, when you are cutting out, after placing the papers on your fabric, make sure you leave half inch on the upper part and half inch on the down part for joining the shoulders together, and also for adding your yoke to your main fabric. So you're going to leave half inch on the up part and half inch on the down part. So we should have 8 pieces of this yoke. So this is what we have, four, and then the other one four. So now on this front part, I'm just going to measure what I have. So I place it on the main center front and then measure what I have for the length, which is the length has to be from this line. I just place my tape rule down there. I have 21 for the length. So now my fabric has to be 21 in length and more than, because you're going to fold in by 1 inch. So I have 22 inch. I'm just doing this to identify the front of the fabric from the back. Now in total I have 22 inches for the wideness of this fabric, and I'm just going to pleat it around when we got to that point. Now I went ahead to add interface on every part of this fabric to the hip line, from the front, from the top to the hip line, and then I cut lining for each of this fabric. So this is what we have: two lining. So this is the center front of the front, and then the side front. You're just going to place it like this and sew it down by half inch, and also the second one, fold it down by sew it down by half of an inch. And then after sewing it, this is what we have. And I just went ahead to iron it, because you need to iron at every process of sewing. Also the back part, I did the same thing and iron it. Also on every part of their linings too, I sew it down and iron it. So now for this front one, we are just going to place it right side facing each other, and then I'm going to fold the midpoint of the top and notch it, because now we're going to be draping or pleating our yoke in between. So this is how it goes. You place just like this, just watch what I did here. You place your yoke and then you pleat it and then sew your lining on it, just to give us a finish and good work. This is what it looks like after sewing it. And I did the same thing for the back too, and then sew it down. I just turn the outfit out to give us a clean work. Now we are going to take that 2 inches I later added for our zipper allowance, and then I'm just going to measure upward, and I'm going to measure my zipper length, my zip length. And on this waistline, I came in by 2.5 inch, so that it would give us this snatch waist and not giving us a bulging zip. So I went up by 8 inch, which is the yoke, and then I came down by 24 inches, which is the zip I'm working with. And then I fixed the zip. I sewed the remaining part down and later fixed the zip on it. Now to the front and the back part, you're going to take our body measurement, both on both sides. Take your body measurement and take the remaining allowance that is left, and then you're just going to measure that on both sides, and then stitch that down from the armhole down to the opening part of the upper hip line. So now for the shoulder also, we are going to join it together by half of an inch. So this is what it looks like after joining the shoulder and the sides together. This is what we have. So now you're just going to open it up by the side, and first of all, this one we are pleating to it, you're just going to fold it by 1 inch on the down part, and then you sew this down the length. You sew it down first, and then you pleat the rest. After pleating, I went ahead to press it because I wanted it to give me this effect, and I also went ahead to overlock the points I joined. And this is what we have at the end of the day. The length, as I said earlier, was too small for me, so I couldn't wear it, but I love how it fits well. So I'm just going to gift this out to someone around me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. If this was helpful, let me know in the comment section. Thank you.